Welcome to Mafia, the old country, a game where you rise through the criminal underworld by lifting boxes, cleaning up horse waste, and occasionally stabbing union reps in the name of family honour. It's a heartwarming tale about loyalty, betrayal, and what happens when you give a man with no qualifications access to firearms and a wine delivery route. Our journey begins in a charming little place called Tremori. I play as Enzo, a man with no money, no prospects, and no visible understanding of workplace health and safety. I'm joined by my friend who's cheerful, optimistic, and based on how these games usually go, statistically doomed. We explore the tunnels together, chatting about life, death, and probably black lung. Eventually we stumble across the rest of the workforce and our supervisor, Sergeant Scarface. You'll see why he's called Sergeant Scarface in a second. Scarface is the kind of man who gets promoted not because he's competent, but because no one wanted to make eye contact with him during staff meetings. He's harassing a worker for not carrying enough baskets, which is fair because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that bullying is a key part of workplace productivity. We then proceed to work overtime with zero extra pay, which actually is probably the most criminal thing that we do in this video. I know what you're thinking, how is he carrying that basket like that? And to be honest, I don't even know myself. There is no need to arrest this guy for mafia crimes. Just the way he carries that basket is criminal enough. But as it turns out, they have no food left. We decide to take matters into our own hands. There's a locked storeroom nearby, and we're very hungry and only slightly ethical. To decide who goes first, we settle it like mature adults in a game of rock, paper, scissors. My friend, for reasons only known to him and possibly a head injury, chooses shoot, which isn't even a real option. But I respect the confidence. Technically I win, but morally he just outplayed me. I then proceed to steal the bread from an incredibly secure facility. Oh wait, I could have just climbed right through this window. Maybe next time. Just as we're settling in to enjoy our crime snacks, people start shouting. Some workers never came back from their shift, which is worrying because there are only two things that can happen in the mine, working or dying. We're sent in to check it out because when something dangerous happens, management always sends the guys with no weapons and zero emotional stability. We find them, or what's left of them, and before we can do anything useful or say something profound, the mine begins to collapse. My friend and I start running, not walking briskly, running for our lives, through fire, falling rocks, and what's probably several health code violations. We finally make it to the exit. Fresh air, daylight, hope. But just before my friend steps out, he stops. Why? Because he forgot his purse. Yes, his purse. Not his wife, not his child. A little leather bag full of sentimental nonsense, and probably 3 lira. It's sad, tragic, and completely expected. I cope with this grief the only way I know how, blaming someone else. I blame Scarface. Whether or not it's actually his fault doesn't matter, because at this point, I need to stab something just to feel something. So I challenge him to a knife fight, as one does in any rational workplace disagreement. You know, I died because of you, steel clashes, blood spilled. I would not approve. Oh, oh. Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Fighting you over a pile of bombs, huh?
But I don't run gracefully. I trip and slide down a hill. It's not heroic, it's not elegant, but it's technically an escape. And at this point, we'll take it. I climb on a horse, which is impressive considering I've just fallen down a literal mountain and possibly died 5 minutes ago. I then ride into the hills, away from the fire, away from Scarface, away from the corpse of my friend who just died. I wake up in a barn surrounded by men, which is always a strong start to the day. Turns out Sergeant Scarface, a man whose personality is somehow more unattractive than his face after our duel, has tracked me down and for some reason wants to kill me. I didn't think I did too much. So I decide to engage stealth mode, which mostly involves crouching and praying that nobody notices me crawling around like a ninja. Surprisingly though, it does work until it doesn't. Yes, I do get caught once or twice, but in my defense, they had eyes and functioning brains. Totally unfair. After knocking out a few of Scarface's cousins and stealing a couple of Frodo frogs from people's pockets, I know, criminal, right? I managed to sneak my way into the horse stable. Just when things are looking up, Scarface shows up, obviously just trying to awe a farm, and then wants to give us a villain monologue. But then plot twist, we've actually wandered into Don Teresi's land. Now, normally walking into a mob boss's territory would be considered a bad life decision. But Enzo's tired, and he's got a pretty cool outfit on.
This is literally why he's the Don. Not as a minor.
So now, after escaping Sergeant Scarface and riding a horse like a budget cowboy, I've been recruited into the Mafia. Not as a hitman, not as an enforcer, but as a delivery man. My first job is lifting boxes, no idea what's in them, probably weapons, possibly body parts, or maybe just some expired pasta sauce. I don't ask questions, I just lift things and put them over there. Then it's off to the stables, where I'm trusted with the prestigious job of shoveling horse crap. It's nice to feel valued. I've always dreamed of working in organised crime. I just didn't think it involved this much feces. Well, non-human feces. Just as I begin contemplating my life choices, and whether it's too late to become a cleaner, she walks in. She gives me a look. Not just a normal look, but that look. The kind that says, you're clearly beneath me socially, hygienically, and legally, but I'm weirdly into it. Naturally, I respond with my usual charm, standing perfectly still, blinking too much, and internally panicking. Remember, gentlemen, always look your best when cleaning up manure. You never know when love, or just another confusing crush might walk through the door. She leaves as quickly as she arrived, as another statistic of females who leave feeling dissatisfied after talking to me. Chapter 2 begins with a new friend, Luca, telling me we've got jobs to do, which is Mafia code for things that will absolutely get you arrested, if anyone had the guts to report them. The task I'm scored with is some wine deliveries through the countryside, because apparently the Mafia dabbles in logistics now. I didn't join organised crime to be a delivery boy, but I guess I didn't have much choice in joining anyway. So I was supposed to be delivering wine, a simple job really. But instead, I somehow find myself walking in circles like a confused toddler trying to find his mum at the supermarket. Just a note guys, if you ever find yourself walking in circles, just own it. Pretend it's a tactical perimeter check, or just blame the GPS, even if it is 1904. It is now becoming clear that I've been accepted into the Mafia family, as I've now been told, pick out and choose a knife. I mean, nothing screams, we are boys like having a knife fight with real blades when teaching. I mean, at least we have similar experience. Luca's worked years in the Mafia as a right-hand man to the Don, and I've worked years as an underground miner and had one fight where the damage was a nick to the face. I'm surprised that Luca did take this fight. After killing Luca, I quickly escape on my horse. Okay, that's not true, but we did run into town to attend an event. This is perfect for Enzo, who's been working flat out for months without rest. He can finally enjoy watching a horse race and unwind. Never mind, turns out the rider was drinking the night before. I know that feeling. And cannot race. So logically, the next person in the saddle is the delivery boy. Typically a promotion like this comes with a pay rise, but I'm unsure how to approach the conversation. Maybe I'll speak with HR. For reasons still unclear to me and my therapist, I've now entered into a horse race because nothing says rising Mafia associate like competitive equestrianism. Right out of the gate, I embrace the time-honoured tradition of winning by being an absolute menace. Instead of focusing on speed, I dedicate myself to the noble art of pushing other riders directly into walls. They don't fall off, no ragdoll physics, no dramatic wipeouts, just solid bank against the wall, followed by a minor drop in morale and velocity. Apparently the developers didn't expect players to use such sociopathic tactics on horseback. So instead of a glorious crash, the other riders just politely bounce off. I know what you're thinking. It's cheating. I mean, I am a part of the Mafia. It was always bound to happen. Against all odds and every principle of good sportsmanship, I win the race. The crowd goes wild, or maybe they're booing. Hard to tell over the sound of me winning. After the sweet taste of victory, I'm rewarded with being allowed to deliver wine for the mob. I bump into Isabella, the Don's daughter again. She appears out of nowhere, like she's been tracking my movement, or conveniently appears when I smell vaguely of sweat and poor decision making. We walk together, I carry the wine, she carries the vibe. It's almost romantic, in the, you know, you're still technically a mob errand boy kind of way. Out of nowhere, this guy steps out in front of us. He looks familiar. Turns out he works for Sergeant Scarface. So you know he's not here for a drink and a handshake. He says something vague and threatening, like all good henchmen do, because subtlety isn't in the vocabulary. He knocks the wine straight out of my hands, and just like that, the man declares war on me and the Don's daughter, and an entire crate of vintage red. So now I'm in the middle of town, locked in a knife fight with a Scarface reject, trying not to get stabbed in front of a woman who once watched me shovel horse crap. We go back and forth, him with rage, me with blind panic. No one really wins. It's less of a duel and more of an aggressive dance between two emotionally damaged men. Lucas shows up. He watches the whole thing, me bleeding, Isabella clearly confused, and the wine tragically soaking into the pavement. But instead of ratting me out to her father, the literal Mafia Don, Lucas says nothing, just gives me a nod that says, I saw what happened, I saw you protect her, you're still an idiot, but a brave one. So I didn't deliver the wine, I didn't win the duel, but I did win a small, quiet moment of respect from a man who could have easily killed me before the night is done. That's what I call character growth. Chapter 3. I receive a letter from Isabella saying how manly I look, taking down those big, burly men, and that I should see her in the garden. Which is weird, because I'm as charming as a sack of wet potatoes. I approach her in the garden, and I don't say a word, because when you're me, silence is the only safe option. I'm basically the human embodiment of a nervous shrug. I let her know I have zero family and no career prospects. She falls in love with me. So I tell her that I've work to do, as I'm still her father's grunt. We meet Cesare, my companion for the day, and the Don's son, nephew, disappointment. It's unclear. What is clear is that Cesare desperately wants to prove himself to the family. It turns out he has a job for us, which is collection, so I will be riding with him today. Our first stop is the shopkeeper who's behind on his payments. He tries to act tough in front of his kid, which is adorable, so I do what any responsible adult would do. I calmly draw my firearm and remind him that unpaid debts aren't cute, they're career-ending. He pays, the kid learns a valuable lesson about masculinity, finance, and the risks of raising your voice in a criminal economy. I should charge him for my services. Next, we visit the quarry, where workers have committed the ultimate betrayal, trying to unionize. Naturally, we resolve the conflict by challenging the union leader to a knife fight. It's not exactly legal, but it's extremely traditional. I win mostly by accident, and also because I fought like someone who's been emotionally repressed since childhood. The workers disperse, the union collapses. Cesare tells me I'm a natural negotiator. I nod, still holding the knife. I'm sent to help Leo, a man who somehow manages to look both paranoid and overconfident at the same time. Apparently the authorities have seized some of his gear. Leo insists it's just tools, which is what every criminal says right before handing you a box of grenades. So now I'm sneaking through a government-controlled shipping yard alone, unarmed, and dressed like a guy who's either here to fix a boat or blow one up. The job goes surprisingly well. I grab the crates and get out without being arrested, shot, or yelled at, which makes this one of my most successful crimes today. Leo is thrilled, I'm confused, and the authorities are probably still trying to figure out why half of their security team was distracted by a man crouch walking for 20 minutes straight. We visit the last person for the day. He tells me someone stole his water pump. which in most cases wouldn't be my problem, but this is Mafia work. So naturally, I'm expected to fix rural plumbing disputes using extreme violence. He says some thieves came in the night, took his pump and ran off. I say nothing, but mentally I add water pump retrieval specialist to my ever-growing criminal resume. We find the thieves hiding up in the hills and decide to let them know that we're here. Diplomacy fails almost instantly, mostly because we never tried it. We unload a generous amount of ammunition and the forest becomes less populated by the second. We recover the pump and dispose of the thieves in the most respectful way we know how, by tossing them down a nearby well. It's symbolic, it's poetic, it's probably a public health issue. So to recap, I threatened to stab a union leader, stole from customs, and turned a well into a graveyard. Cesare still hasn't earned the Don's respect, but hey, he didn't die, and in Mafia terms, it's basically a promotion. He's trying, that's more than most people in this life, and he might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but at least he carries one.
In this mission, I'm promoted from trusted family enforcer to a glorified babysitter, because apparently the most feared mafia in Sicily doesn't have anything better to do than third wheel someone else's date. So, Gennaro shows up at Isabella's house to take her out. The guy's all dressed up, clearly hoping this date is going well. Isabella takes one look at the car and instead hops on her horse. Nothing says romance like taking another form of transport to avoid spending time together. As for me, I get told to follow along and make sure she's safe. Great. I've assassinated rival mobsters, and now I'm working part-time as a babysitter. Remember to like and subscribe, or your next date's gonna pull an Isabella and immediately leave you for a horse. And trust me, nothing crushes your self-esteem faster than losing out to a farm animal. As we ride, Isabella chats away, and I'm meant to look interested. I nod along like I'm actually listening, but really, I'm just wondering how my life has gone from carrying Tommy guns to carrying the weight of someone else's relationship. Not far down the road, we find Gennaro and Cesare's car broken down. To be fair, cars only break down in this game when Gennaro is driving. This guy could stall a bicycle. Enzo fixes Gennaro's car in 2 seconds flat. Honestly, this guy could look at a collapsed lung and it'd start breathing again out of pure respect. Absolute king. Later on, Isabella hands me her camera and asks me to do a photo of the ruins. At this point, I've gone from glorified babysitter to unpaid photographer. I take the picture though. It'll look great on my resume when I eventually quit the Mafia and apply for an internship at National Geographic. We finally arrive at the ruins, and Isabella and Gennaro head off on their date. I'm left waiting with Cesare for 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours of sitting around doing absolutely nothing. This isn't a Mafia mission. This is a simulator for waiting outside while your mate fails to pull inside a club. Eventually, we get bored and decide to drive the car around the block, which is always a smart idea in Mafia games. Let's just spin the car around is basically the equivalent of saying, I really hope a gunfight happens in the next 5 minutes. Sure enough, as we are cruising back, we hear gunshots from the ruins. For Gennaro, this was supposedly the day that he won Isabella's heart. Instead, he won a free trip at gunpoint, which, with how much Isabella yaps, is possibly better. We finally get to the ruins, and surprise, surprise, Isabella and Gennaro have been kidnapped. At this point, I'm starting to think Isabella's horse would have done a better job at protecting her. Now here's the painful part. I play with no aim assist, so instead of being a sharp Mafia hitman, I'm basically just cosplaying as a stormtrooper. Every time I fire, I'm praying the bullets find their way to the enemy out of pity. Eventually, we push forward, but the kidnappers throw Isabella and Gennaro into a carriage, which is a bold move, because I'm not sure Gennaro counts as valuable cargo. We jump into the car, and the chase begins. Now, you remember how I roasted Gennaro for breaking cars? Yeah, it turns out I'm not much better. I drive like I just stole Gennaro's car, cause I kinda basically did. and Cesare's just casually sitting there acting like this is all normal. In the middle of the chase, I leap out of the moving car onto a horse. Now, not exactly sure what the point was of going from a faster way of transport, but it was cool as hell and a story to be able to tell later on. Then I jumped from the back of the horse onto the car. At this point, I've spent more time switching vehicles than actually saving Isabel. It's less Mafia and more budget Fast and Furious movie. Eventually, I managed to only save Isabel. Gennaro, sadly, remains kidnapped, which honestly feels like a win for everyone involved. After all that chaos, Isabella kisses me, which is wild because Gennaro planned this whole date and I basically photobombed it with bullets and horses. Gennaro bought flowers, I brought high-speed collisions. Guess which one worked? After I pull Isabella to safety, I send her home with Cesare. That way, she's out of danger, and I can focus on saving Gennaro. Not because I actually want to, but because apparently leaving him behind isn't considered professional Mafia conduct. Personally, I call it natural selection. This rescue is meant to be a stealth mission, which is great in theory, except stealth is just an Italian word for shoot everyone loudly until they stop moving. So I ignore the plan and go in guns blazing. Shockingly, this doesn't get Gennaro killed, which is a shame because part of me was hoping that the kidnappers would just take care of the competition. Enemy after enemy piles out, and I mow them down like a Sicilian lawnmower. It's supposed to look heroic, but really, it's just me reloading every 5 seconds and hoping the game runs out of goons before I run out of ammo. 1 second I'm in a firefight, the next I'm patting down corpses like I'm looking for spare change. Ammo is just really quite hard to come by. I tried asking for a ceasefire while I did my pat down. It didn't work. Apparently these guys don't have a 40v1 gunfight etiquette. Finally, I come face to face with Messina, the main kidnapper. It's a straight up duel. Him versus me. He is holding a double barrel shotgun at me. I proceed to pull out my knife and say, "No balls." He retaliates by throwing his shotgun to the side, which is terrifying because I'm built for driving cars into walls, not recreating Crocodile Dundee. Still, after some very questionable stabbing technique, I drop Messina and free Gennaro. Congratulations, mate. You survived thanks to the guy who wanted you dead the most. I ride back into the Mafia camp with Gennaro. The whole crew is kitted up. Don Teresi thanks me personally for bringing Gennaro back, which is weird because I am the reason that they got kidnapped in the first place. Still, I'll take the credit. Enzo, the babysitter, stuntman, horse wrangler, and now professional Gennaro retrieval service. As far as he knows, I'm just the loyal soldier, not the bloke Isabella kissed merely 2 hours ago. Gennaro showed up for a date. Isabella ditched him for a horse, and somehow that spiraled into kidnappings, car crashes, and me knife fighting a crime boss. In the end, I dragged Gennaro back alive, got thanked like a hero, and basically turned Sicily into an action movie set for nothing. All in a day's work. You'd think that would earn me a break, but no. Welcome to Chapter 5, Vendetta de Norm, where the Mafia decides honor means murder instead of therapy. I see Isabella in a church, and we chat for a bit. But the whole time I'm paranoid Don Teresi somehow knows about us, which is funny, because I'm stressing over one kiss while also committing crimes that'll one day get their own Netflix documentary. I head to meet Don Teresi, bracing myself for the awkward, stay away from my niece talk. Instead, he just sends me on a job from Isabella's uncle. Turns out the family doesn't care about my love life. They just need me to assassinate someone. Honestly, a huge relief. I load up at the armory like it's a Black Friday sale, then grab an overpowered car to get to the target.
I want some... We are fucking up, boys.
Turns out, my biggest enemy isn't rival families, it's corners. I am rewarded with an overpowered vehicle, which I immediately flip on its roof after about 5 seconds. At this point, I'm Sicily's biggest road hazard. The drive there is a war crime in itself. I smashed through so many walls and fences, I think I just lowered Sicily's property value single-handedly. I wait until nightfall to sneak into the house. The plan is stealth, so I crouch low, stick to the shadows, and start moving real slow. I'm hugging walls, holding my breath, and I move like I never have before, taking guards down quickly and effectively. Naturally, I get spotted immediately, so I do what I do best, spray bullets until the stealth section politely deletes itself from the mission. I burst into the target's room, and the guy panics by swinging a sculpture at me, which is bold. Imagine thinking marble is stronger than bullets. I grab it off him and knock him out with it. As I try dragging him out, more enemies rush in from behind. So now I'm juggling unconscious guy in one hand, pistol in the other, and a growing suspicion that maybe I should have actually tried stealth for once. The target comes into consciousness, panics, and legs it. So now I'm chasing him through the estate, mowing down guards as I go. It looks like an epic pursuit, but really it's just me spamming reload while wondering why this guy's cardio is better than mine. I finally catch up to him, drag him into some ruins, and execute him. The Mafia calls this honor. I call it unpaid overtime. Either way, Sicily now has one less bloke swinging statues at house guests. Don Teresi brings me in, makes me repeat the family lines, and then cuts my lip open. My blood drips into a holy picture, which is apparently symbolic. Personally, I call it vandalism, but sure, let's call it honor. We celebrate by drinking 4 crates of wine, because the Mafia doesn't believe in moderation. At this point, I'm so plastered that when we drive into town, I actually handle the car better than when I'm sober, which raises some questions about my driving license. Halfway across the bridge, Cesare hops out and takes a piss off the side. Truly, nothing cements family honor like urinating into a river while drunk. I think Socrates said that. Cesare and Leo decide to pick up some ladies of the night, because apparently it's not Mafia celebration until someone's definitely catching something that they can't explain to their wife. Meanwhile, I sleep in a car outside like a responsible adult, or a homeless teenager after a bad party. The next morning, we check out my new place. Turns out the previous occupant died there, and that the house hasn't been cleaned since. Which is fine, because nothing says fresh start like moving into a murder house. Still, we're happy. We throw ourselves down in the one uncleaned room, probably breathing in more diseases than bullets, and call it a night. Mafia life, baby.
We are now on chapter 7. Molto, I can't say the rest, which translates to that dude who swears he's respectable while breaking every law in existence. This chapter is where I prove I have elite stealth ability. Seriously, I crouch for like 2 seconds, get bored, stand up, and immediately ruin everything. If you came here for a masterclass in patience and stealth gameplay, you've clicked the wrong video. So, the Don sends me to sneak into the Guardi station and free Giuseppe the Forger. Apparently he's the bee's knees when it comes to printing fake money. But naturally they send me, the guy who thinks stealth is just reloading slightly quieter. Now, why is the saying bee's knees? Apparently in the 1920s, people decided bees had the best knees, which is weird because bees don't actually have knees. They have little pollen sacs. So, basically, the phrase bee's knees is just a fancy way of saying the bug's armpits. Real inspiring. Every time I try to sneak past a guard, it ends in disaster. I'm like the human version of an alarm clock. I swear, I even got spotted once for breathing too loud. After half a dozen reloads, I finally bust Giuseppe out. Probably because the guards gave up out of pity. Then I head to Major DeMarco's office to steal the printing plates. And this guy's obsessed with safes. I rush the codes, get them wrong, and basically spend 20 minutes proving I'd make a terrible bank robber. Of course, the alarms go off. And suddenly it's full chaos. The big final? A knife fight with Major DeMarco himself. Spoiler, I'm still terrible at sneaking, but stabbing? Surprisingly excellent. Finally, I drag myself home, half dead, covered in blood, only to find Isabella waiting for me. Nothing like awkward romantic tension to wrap up a jailbreak mission. I take advantage of the situation and get to work. If you're enjoying me fumbling through stealth like a complete amateur, make sure to hit subscribe, keeping me from rage quitting the series and starting a career in the circus. So the Don wants me to prep a smuggled American car for a race. Naturally, my job is to tow it to Pascal's garage. And when I say tow it, I mean actively try and crash it. I decide to test out the brakes and then attempt to slingshot it around the road. With inhumane reflexes, the AI somehow predicts my actions. Maybe I have lost my ability to be unpredictable.
Oh. God, are you gonna tell me that fucked it up? Fuck. That work.
But the real fun starts when I must sneak into San Celeste at night to blackmail Marquis Saratoga. This involves sneaking through a brothel to take compromising photos. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Remember how patient I was in chapter 6? Yeah, that lasted about 2 seconds here too. Instead of waiting for the guards to move, I just sprint straight inside expecting to fit right in. Shockingly, this doesn't work, and I decide to resist charging headfirst into danger.
What do you guys think? What could this guy possibly be doing?
After bribing the official to let us into the race, we decide it's time to test the car against a train. Yes, a literal train.
Holy shit.
Nothing screams subtle like drag racing the public transport system. But somehow, I managed to beat the train and unlock the achievement. Pretty sure it was more plot armor than skill. However, I take the win because why the hell not?
Enzo.
Leo's plan better work. This is everything's ready. So it's ready.
Finally, the big race. I'm up against proper drivers. I'm gonna have to do my best driving. I plant my foot on the throttle, ready to show these little chumps who the true racer is.
True. Can't be having that. Girlfriend will probably leave me too. What the hell?
This never happened with the
What the fuck?
Great start. It's about how you finish. Come on.
Then, miraculously, the car shuts off and we're in last place. After stumbling around for a cool 20 seconds, we finally get kicking. Corners are optional, right? Because I'm pretty sure I've turned half of Sicily into speed bumps. Anyway, we managed to claw back the victory by taking some choice shortcuts and cross the finish line first. After the celebration photo with the boys, Isabella shows up at the docks. 1 second I'm celebrating my big win with the Huzz, Next second, Tino busts down the door screaming about traitors. Bro, read the room. Maybe let me finish before you drop some Mafia betrayal bombshell. But no, apparently La Umbrella sold us out, and we have to scramble to save Tannery. Nothing kills romance like organised crime and a sweaty guy yelling in your living room. And then Isabella just vanishes like full Houdini. She goes from leading lady to side quest NPC in about 3 frames. No explanation, no dramatic exit, just poof, gone. I guess she realised Enzo was about to do another stealth mission and thought, yeah nah, I'm out. Honestly, smart move. I should have disappeared with her. So we kick off in my apartment, being told La Umbrella ratted out the Tannery. Plot twist, betrayal, yada yada. I get told to warn everybody. Go to the Tannery with Cesare, rescue Giuseppe, standard Mafia stuff. If your standards are gunfire, sneaking, and maybe regret. Stealth time again, and I complete the game the way it was intended for once. I know you're expecting me to say not, but I actually did it this time. Call it character development. We managed to reach the Forger room after some weird detours, because apparently I believed in exploring all the shortcuts. There's fog, shadows, gunfire, me hiding behind boxes like a coward. I help Cesare when he's pinned down, which involves me running into a room and tactically catching him to break his fall. Pew! The little runt escapes. Then the car chase. And by car chase, I mean I try to keep up, occasionally wreck into scenery, curse at tight turns, and pray the car doesn't flip. The fog doesn't help. Marcus disappears. La Umbrella plays hide and seek better than I do. But somehow, Cesare eventually finishes him off. Yes, with a shovel. A shovel. Mafia logic, baby. We then decide to have a quick little campfire, and we accidentally forget to remove the body from the wreckage. Oops. That's my bad.
We do not care.
Honestly, you'd think that'd be enough drama for one day. But nope. The Mafia never sleeps, and apparently neither does Enzo. Straight after Shovel Justice, we're on to Chapter 9, Industria. The Don tells me there's a strike at the Fontella factory, stirred up by some guy called Lorenzetti. Mafia rule number 1, if someone's causing trouble, it's my problem now. So, I'm sent out to dig up dirt, literally Mafia detective work. Except instead of a magnifying glass, I just have bad social skills and a gun. I start wandering Teresi's vineyard, talking to mistresses, workers, and anyone else who looks remotely suspicious. This is meant to be a slow build-up, piecing together clues about Lorenzetti. But let's be honest, patience and me don't mix. I basically storm around like an angry census worker. Hi, excuse me, tell me all your secrets or I'll knock over all your wine barrels. Eventually, I track down Lorenzetti's office. It's locked, of course. Because Mafia NPCs love locks, more than I love ignoring stealth prompts. So instead, I'm sneaking in like a pro. I clumsily break in, kick over half the furniture, and pretend it's all part of the plan. Inside, I find some letters, charms, and proof that Lorenzetti is stirring the pot. Detective Enzo solved the case. Next stop, the Fontanella factory. The game hints at stealth, but nah, I'm officially retired from that life. So I charge in loud and proud, turn the factory floor into a fireworks display, and surprise, surprise, the whole place catches on fire. Now it's not just a mission, it's a fire evacuation drill with extra bullets. Running through a burning factory is about as fun as it sounds. I'm dodging flames, coughing in smoke, and praying that fire exits exist in this time. It all ends with a knife fight against one of Spadaro's goons. No stealth, no patience. Just two sweaty guys slashing at each other while the world literally burns around them. Beautiful.
Alright, boys, strap in. Chapter 10 La Festa. We open with Enzo riding shotgun with Isabella. She was taking forever to get ready, like she's getting photographed for the cover of Vogue's How to Dress While Surviving a Mafia War. Enzo's tapping the steering wheel, doing that I'm 5 minutes from losing it jig. You can tell he loves her, there's a baptism, and priests are not big on tardiness when holy water's involved. We roll into town, Luca's kid is about to be baptized, and for a tiny, ridiculous second, the whole world seems calm. There's real warmth, mothers fussing, uncles arguing about card games, a guy selling cannoli acting like the world's problems can be solved with cream and sugar. It's one of those moments where you almost forget you're in a game called Mafia. We line up for a photo, big smiles, babies in the middle, the flash goes off, and boom, a sniper shot cracks across the square. The photographer doesn't say cheese, he says, Jesus, we're under fire. Suddenly, everyone's running for their lives, priests are ducking for cover, baptism over. Enzo turns on instincts. No time for melodrama, just duck, move, and survive. We test the shooter's aim by standing in the middle of the open and telling people to be safe. Clearly he has terrible aim. However, when I take over controls, I seem to get shot many times and call him a hacker. Tarkov reflexes right there. I was clearly being coddled by the plot armor before. I then attempt to push through the crowd, vault over mountain edges, slip behind market stalls, while Scarface unloads lead down on me like he's got some personal vendetta. I did nothing to this man. This sequence feels frantic, it feels ugly, it feels like you're sprinting through a nightmare in slow, terrible bursts. It takes ages to get to the tower because my own incompetence and a little of the game not functioning correctly. Scarface has been reloading so often, the animation has probably stopped playing by now. When I finally bust into the sniper's nest, I sneak up behind Scarface and he doesn't realise that I'm there. Until I decide to stab him. I'm starting to wonder why Enzo is so effective. If he cannot merely stab someone who is actively shooting a crowd. Anyway, he drops the rifle and whips out a knife. Because of course he does. We fight. And it's not cinematic hero stuff. It's two sweaty blokes trading slashes like we're trained by the League of Chimpanzees. The choreography is messy, on purpose. It makes your movements feel ragged, breath heavy. You stick him, think it's over, but because the plot hates convenience, he bolts. Rooftop chase unlocked. Now you're parkouring through terracotta tiles and laundry lines, making the town's insurance companies hate you. Enzo vaults across gutters, knocks over a drying sheet, and every jump, you do a tiny prayer. The sniper fistfights a car engine like a man who's decided to embrace vehicular homicide, and you chase him on your horse. Shoot a couple times, then jump a couple trees, and voila! The car clips a wall or something. I don't really know. I was busy riding my horse into a wall. Anyway, the car flips, and we approach the wreck expecting a corpse. I fail to spot him run straight at me from where I'm looking, because, well, I forgot to put my eye drops in this morning. Of course, we then knife fight in the wreckage. Sparks, glass, the smell of burned upholstery, grunting, the wet metallic taste of panic, or blood, I'm not too sure. You stab, after I clearly get rid of his health bar, he ends up starting to choke me out, and I'm saved by Leo. Which is a letdown, as I was clearly winning the fight. Chapter 11, Matanza. Translation, they did not pick a gentle name. We start in a villa where the big hitters are trying to be adults for 5 miserable minutes. Don Galante, Don Teresi, and Baron Fontanella. They're in suits, pouring wine, and agreeing, shockingly, to stop the bloodshed. For a second, hope shows its face. The camera lingers on the glasses clinking, like a movie that wants you to breathe easy. We roll into the peace meeting with Spadaro, who apparently doesn't care much for entrances, but loves dramatic exits and murder as conversational punctuation. The man listens for a hot second and then pops Galante in the head on his way out. 1 second you're talking about property lines, the next second you're running around some fish factory attempting to hold your nose while you shoot. Love the smell of gunpowder, but man, it doesn't mix well with fish guts. Fighting through this mission feels relentless. You walk into rooms and then explode into action. You return fire, move like you're playing a very angry game of whack-a-mole, heal, reload, and then repeat. The building design leads you down corridors where every portrait seems to judge you as you fire through. Men you saw sipping wine 5 minutes ago are now corpses, boats are ruined, and someone's car is probably never going to be the same. We fight to the courtyard, bodies everywhere, and then that gut punch. Luca. He catches around. You all try to carry him, yelling his name, but he's slipping away. This is not a game mechanic. This is a heartbreak moment. Luca's death transforms the Don, where once he was about to talk peace, now there's ice. The Don signs a sheet of vengeance with eyes that will not forget bullets or faces. Chapter 12, La Forza del Destino. They pull me aside after Luca. The Don's calm, which is the worst kind of calm. He tells me I was his second man. Translation, you've proven useful, now do this and maybe history will remember you. The mission, sneak under a play, kill Baron Fontanella and Spadaro during the show, vanish like a bad smell. Odds, bad, stakes, arguably worse, but then the bomb drop of humanity. Isabella, quiet and steady, looks at me dead in the eyes and says, Enzo, we're having a baby. Time freezes in a stupid way only games and romance movies ever do. For the first time in a while, Enzo actually pictures bedsheets that aren't stained with worry and blood. He wants out more than ever. They stuff me into the back of a truck, drop me behind the theatre, and I crawl through a tunnel that smells like mould and poor life choices. Coming up under the stage, you feel like a mole. Dark, damp, inexplicably heroic. Up in the private box, Fontanella is puffed and grinning like he's immune to consequences. Easy.
So a good man die. People
Hold on.
who the fuck would agree for
Kill him. There's no way. Oh, I got his jugular. I certainly got his jugular.
The kill spills into the most humiliating success in history. He flops over the railing, and the Baron lands in the audience like he's part of the set. People scream, shoes fly, and opera glasses get lodged in heads. It's absurd and terrible. Spadaro sees me, and suddenly you're in a murder musical. The orchestra is drowning in chaos, and the actors are improvising screaming. Oh well, at least I think they are. The theatre fright is frantic, and cinematic in the wrong way. We use narrow corridors, we duck into prop rooms, launch through dressing areas. The actors scattering provides comedy relief. If you want to laugh, but the stakes are visceral. Down in the sewer, Spadaro and I have a knife fight, because the Fate is apparently allergic to bullets when it needs drama. It's raw, it's close, it's personal, and it's more about survival than style. I gut him, he falls. You feel the relief, like air returning to your lungs after being underwater. I escape in the priest's truck, with Isabella's news burning in my pocket. You're not just a soldier now, you're a man with a life tether you have to keep from snapping. If this chapter is about destiny, it's about choosing a destiny for a child that you haven't met yet. Chapter 13. Capri Regime. Alright boys, grab your espresso and your small caliber pistol, because this one's equal parts promotion and emotional landmine. So picture this. I'm still smelling like theatre dust and the priest's truck air freshener. Isabella's grin is stuck in my head, and the Don calls me in like he's about to hand me a gold watch. Instead, he gives me my old mind back. Yep. The life lesson here is congratulations, you get a reminder of the worst things that you ever did. He presents it like a gift. Here, Enzo, the mine, yours now. It's less you've earned this, and more, here's the shovel you used to use when you had no choice. It's the Mafia equivalent of giving someone a framed selfie of their most embarrassing day. I stand there trying to be grateful, but mostly wanting to throw it back at him and say, no thanks, I'd rather be normal and run away from the trauma of my best friend dying. First order of business, we gotta take the old owner's body to a pre-dug grave. Romantic, right? Nothing says festive like hauling your predecessor's corpse around the back of a car. We load him up, I'm thinking grim thoughts, and then plot twist. The guy who's been digging the grave, turns out he's a snitch for Spadaro. You'd think grave digging would be a low profile job. Guess not. Tino finds out and puts the grave digger down like he's swatting a fly at a picnic. Efficient, but also horrifying. Also, a terrible gardening tip. That moment's the kind of whisper that crawls under your skin. If even the grave diggers are dirty, you really can't trust anyone who touches dirt for a living. It's unsettling, but also makes for a great conversation starter at funerals. I once knew a gravedigger who dug his own grave. Talk about job security, am I right? I'm sure this will kill with the guests. We get tasked with offing Mazone, so we go full handyman mode. Find the problem, remove the problem, and then pretend nothing happened. Absolute classic. Then Cesare and I join up to handle Cecchini. We shadow him, we wait, and of course he gets skittish and bolts in a car like a man who's paid too much for paranoia. Cue the car chase. This one's wild because the game physics apparently decided we need a tutorial on humility. For 3 glorious minutes, we're tearing through the countryside. Narrow lanes, carts, old ladies shaking fists, pigeons filing grievances. Oh my lord. Yeah, I think I'll just park up right here. Then the car flips into a tree, and it's like someone hit the reset button on Dignity. I sit there thinking, really, we made it this far to be foiled by a single tree? Round 2, because we don't quit, and this time it's cinematic. I line up, I shoot, the car goes boom in like 5 seconds flat. No tree intervenes, no reset required, just pure revenge efficiency. Boom, job done. Cesare and I exchange a kind of nod that says, we're exhausted, but probably morally bankrupt. But also, we did it. We meet Tino later at the church to bob up the remaining Spadaro rats. You get this nice hymn in the background, like the universe is trying to be polite while we murder people. It's almost poetic. Half the congregation is now less worshipping and more survivor of a gunfight, which isn't what the brochures promised. We clear the pews, we take out the last of the goons, and then come across Costa. And here's the thing, a priest, bless him, pleads me not to kill Costa on holy ground. For about 2 heartbeats I go soft. Maybe I'm actually human now. Maybe I've adopted a stray moral code, like an unfortunate puppy. Then reality smacks me. I'm the guy who stabbed a man in a theatre box and thought nothing of it. But for once, I let someone else deliver the final act. Cesare steps in and does the deed, sparing me the strain of sacrilege. It's a weirdly civilized moral compass. I won't kill on holy ground, but my friend will. We'll add that to the wedding vows right after in sickness and okay-ish health. Night comes and Leo slides something across the table. It's a ticket. Not just a metaphorical ticket, an actual ticket for me and Isabella to go to L'America. Paper and ink. And the faint sound of impossible dreams. In that moment, the game does a little soft focus shot. The world seems quieter, the future almost affordable. I hold that ticket like it's a life jacket, and honestly, for once, Hope it doesn't taste like metal. Chapter 14, L'America. The big, let's get out and pretend we've learned from our mistakes plan. I swing by to pick up Isabella like I'm going on a picnic and not about to negotiate a hostage situation. She's in the doorway looking like she's been styled by an angel. I'm holding the ticket like it's a winning scratchy and thinking, yeah, today we become boring immigrants. Ugh. Adulting. We walk towards the train like two cute idiots who definitely do not deserve this life. I'm practicing my new country accent under my breath because apparently trauma comes with audio rebranding. Then Tino shows up like someone who RSVP'd to ruining our lives. He strolls in, and that face, the kind of face that you get when you've eaten one too many trust issues. Before I can say choo choo, he clamps a hand on Isabella, and suddenly our romantic walk is a tug of war, sponsored by bad choices. Next thing I know, I get a boot in the ribs, and I'm in my old mine. Which, plot twist, the Don gifted me like a Christmas present that says, here's your childhood, remixed, and now your property. He tells me to fight for fun, because that's what happened in those days. Cesare steps up with a knife, we throw down like two dudes in a bar. I beat him, because surprise, I'm good at things I don't want to be. I could have iced him, but nah, I let him live. I let him live, because I enjoy gambling with my future grief. This won't come back to bite me. Then the Don says something so morally bankrupt, it could be a cryptocurrency. He threatens Isabella's baby. That's not a line, that's a crime against parenting. I go from mildly annoyed to radical life choices in a second. The mine gets dramatic. Rocks fall, the volcano coughs, ash drops like confetti for a funeral, and the mine becomes a very unhappy barbecue. I fight my way out through the smoke, and miners swinging like confused raccoons. The Don and I end up face to face, knife glittering, wind doing its thing for atmosphere, and we duel like it's a weird country fair. I stab him, he flops. For half a second I think, nice, maybe I'll get to hand Isabella the ticket as we ride into the sunset with matching luggage. Cesare shows up with a change of heart. He helps me up a ledge. Then I look down and find a knife in my side. Like a petty plot twist. Cesare sneak stabbed me while I was busy being dramatic. Classic. Everything goes soft focus. I topple like a Tesla robot, feel my life do a left turn into red. They leave me to stew in my own blood. The screen flips, control switches. That's the exact moment the game says, alright, congrats, you're now Isabella. Go be terrifying and stylish. I wake up to Tino shouting like the roof's on fire, which is because it basically is. He storms in and says one thing that freezes my blood. He's taken the baby. Cute. So I shove a chair under the door, grab the one useless hairpin I've always kept for bad days, and go full burglar. The house is a war zone. They are looking for me while I'm crouching around the house during an active volcano eruption. Perfect. I move like I grew up in these halls. Because I did. I know every squeaky board, every back corridor, which painting holds a key. Childhood skills, 10 out of 10 in unexpected utility. Down in the cellar, a lantern tips, oil kisses flame, and suddenly everything's a furnace. As I'm climbing out of the cellar, I'm interrupted by someone looking up my skirt. So the only logical thing for me to do is kick him in the face and proceed to steal his blade and stab him. Justified violence. Another comes, same thing. No drama, no swagger, just survival. Apparently Isabella can overpower some Mafia enforcers. I'm not exactly sure what's in the fruit she's always picking, but I think I need to get some. Tino finds me and grabs me from behind because he doesn't have a volcano to worry about. He's arrogant, loud, and the kind of man who thinks yelling makes him right. Isabella takes a bite of his arm and proceeds to slash his face.
We then proceed to play Ring Around the Rosie while I constantly come from behind and stab him. It's genuinely quite scary to think he really didn't see it coming once. I now understand what horror movie killers feel like. Quite exhilarating.
Easy. Dead. You fucking bitch.
Tino dies and I survive. I burst outside coughing. The compound, a hellscape of fire and black smoke. Cesare's there, ash on his face, eyes older than they were an hour ago. I ask about Enzo, and he doesn't lie. He hands me a ticket, smudged in the corner, and says, "Simple and cruel, you should go." The ticket feels like a small heartbeat in my palm. On the boat, and unfold Enzo's letter. His handwriting is messy, but real. He tells me to live loud, and to teach our kid how to whistle. To laugh at dumb jokes he never got to hear again. I read it until the words blur with the salt on my face. The shore recedes, smoke shrinks to a smear, and the future, messy, terrifying, and bright in the way only a terrible plan can be. I clutch the ticket, fold the letter into my coat, and step into La America. Not clean, not pretty, but alive.